morning, everybody. Thank you for joining here today. I hope you are doing well. So we are here to talk to you all about air pollution, climate change, and ozone depletion. I am Keen Bernardo Viera together with my team, Diones and Ray Bonante. And I am here today to talk to you all about the pretty huge problem in our world, especially our country, the Philippines. And that would be air pollution. Now, before I'm going to discuss, let's see some pictures here. Now, do you like what we see in the picture? In the first picture, we can see some cars. And did you know that motor vehicles are the major sources of air pollutants in the world, such as public utility? And we also have buses. Diba we have serious bus in our town nga kusog kaayo mapabulhot or mapagawas og aso. And we also have jeepney. In our town, we have also easy ride, tricycle, and some private vehicles. So next picture would be coal power plants, mga planta, smoke from manufacturing factories. Another would be, now as you can see in the next picture, so we have here so much garbage and waste. And that picture was taken in Candaw-ay, Dumaguete, and it is also called the Smoky Mountain of Candaw-ay. And the next picture, as you can see, burning plastics. Burning plastics can also cause air pollution. Kabantay mo ka nang magsunog o plastic inyong silingan, makasimot mo, di ba? Baling bahuang. And also, and even the simple act of cooking food at home can cause air pollution. So we also have here si nanay nagluto, and we also have lechon. We also have here also cooking lechon. Oh, nagutom mo, di ba? Now, this is the air that we breathe every day. All right. Now, I will ask you a question. Are you happy or sad when you see those air pollutants? Or are you happy because you see the lechon? Definitely, it's sad to see those air pollution, di ba? It can cause so much problem in our environment, especially in our health. Let's proceed to our learning objectives. Now, I'm going to focus or deal with three main points in this chapter that we should be able to understand. First of all, I'll talk to you about the two major ways that pollution affects living things by direct contact down here and by altering the atmosphere above us. Why air pollution from human activities combined with meteorological condition may exceed the atmosphere's natural ability to remove waste. What major categories and sources of air and pollutants are. Second, we'll look at how acid rain is produced and how its environmental impacts might be minimized. And why air quality standards are important. Finally, I'll explain why the major indoor air pollutants are, where they came from, and why they cause some of our most serious environmental health problems, green building, and other strategies for controlling and minimizing indoor pollution. Now, let's get started. What is air pollution? Now, according to EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency, air pollution is a mixture of solid particles and gases in the air. Now, examples of this are car emissions, chemical from factories, dust, pollen, mold spores may be suspended as particles, and some of the pictures that I've shown you earlier. So those are examples of air pollution. Now, air pollution can harm your health, and the environment can also cause property damage. So, inana siya ka-harmful. Now, let's go to the overview of air pollution in the lower atmosphere. As the fastest moving fluid medium in the environment, the atmosphere has always been one of the most convenient places to dispose of unwanted materials. The atmosphere has been as ink of waste disposal ever since we first used fire, and people have long recognized the existence of atmosphere pollutants, both natural and human-induced. Now, in 1550, Leonardo da Vinci wrote that a blue haze formed from materials emitted into the atmosphere by trees. What we have observed is the natural photochemical smog from hydrocarbons given off by living trees. So this haze, whose cause is still not fully understood, gave rise to the name Smoky Mountains for the range in southern eastern United States. Now, where does the air pollution come from? Bitaw no, asa man ni gagagikan ning pollution na? Now, so we have here the two major categories of air pollution. We have stationary sources and mobile sources. So let's talk about stationary sources. Stationary sources is a source that emits more than a certain amount of pollutant and have a relatively fixed location and include point sources, fugitive sources, and area sources. Now, let's talk about point sources. It emits pollutants from one or more controllable sites, such as power plants, smokestacks. Again, point sources releases pollutants from, remember this one, from one or more controllable sites. So next sources would be fugitive sources. It generates air pollutants from open areas exposed to wind. Examples include burning for agricultural purposes, as well as dirt roads, construction sites, farmland, storage files, surface mines, and other exposed areas. You just remember that fugitive sources generate air pollutants from open areas exposed to wind. Next would be air sources. Air sources are well-defined areas within which are several sources of air pollutants. For example, small urban communities, areas of intense industrialization within urban complex and agricultural areas, sprayed with herbicides and pesticides. Again, area sources within the area. Now, let's talk about the other major sources of air pollution, and that would be mobile sources. Mobile sources are not fixed sources of air pollution. Now, it includes automobile trucks, buses, aircrafts, ships, trains, and anything else that pollute as it moves from one place to place. Again, mobile sources, you just remember this, moves from place to place. Now, many of these pollutants contribute to the environment degradation and have negative effect of human health. Now, let's go to the general effects of air pollution. Air pollution affects many aspects of our environment, including its visual qualities, vegetation, animals, soils, water quality, natural and artificial structures, and human health. Air pollution affects visual resources by discoloring the atmosphere and by reducing visual range and atmospheric clarity. We cannot see as far in polluted air. And what do we see? How less color contrasts. Another effect of air pollution, numerous effects on vegetation, no? Kaning atong mga dahon, mga damage, mga prutas, maghinay ng tubo, na muna siya general effect of air pollution. Now, it includes damage to leaves, needles, and fruits, reduce or suppress growth, increase susceptibility to diseases, pests, and adverse weather, and disruption of reproductive process. Alright, Now, another is air pollution is a significant factor in the human health death rates in many large cities. For example, in the city of Greece, the number of deaths is several times higher on days when the air is heavily polluted. And in Hungary, where air pollution has been a serious problem in recent years, it may contribute to as 1 in 17 deaths. In the United States, where exposure to air pollution contributes to lung disease, which cause more than 300,000 deaths per year. In China, whose large cities that serious air pollution problem, mostly burning coals, the health cost is now about 50 billion years. Now, another is in 2021, in the year 2021, in Israel, have you heard the news? It estimated 113 latest deaths, including at least 31 children, at least 600 people have been wounded. So the missile or katong rocket nga ilang gi-use, it also pollute the air because it releases rocket releases carbon and gases. And imagine, it launched 200 rockets toward Israel. Nabaling luya, di ba? Now, and in the Philippines, according to World Health Organization, the Philippines ranks 3rd on the highest cases of deaths due to air pollution. Now, let's go to another effects of air pollution. Air pollutants can affect our health. Yes, that is true. Air pollution can affect our health and in several ways, depending on the dose or concentration and other factors, including individual susceptibility. Some of the primary effects are cancer, birth defects, eye and respiratory systems, irritation, greater susceptibility to heart disease, and aggravation of chronic diseases such as asthma and emphysema. So people suffering from respiratory disease are the most likely to be affected. So katong mga gipang asthma din ha, hinay-hinay lang. Please wear face mask lang ha. Alright, next let's go to the effects of air pollution on vertebrate animals. In general, include the impairment of the respiratory system, damage to eye, feet, and bones, increased susceptibility to disease, parasites, and other stress-related environment hazards, decreased availability of food sources, such as vegetation, and affected by pollutants. And another general effects of air pollution is air pollution deposits can also make soil and water toxic. Yes, it is true. In addition, soils may be leaked of nutrients by pollutants that form acid. Now, in the Smoky Mountain of Kanday, it has so many waste or garbages there, and when it rains, there are some heavy metals that flows to the river or water, and it may cause harmful to the people nearby. Now, another is air pollution effects on man-made structures include discoloration, erosion, and decomposition of building materials. Alright, are you still there? Okay pa mo? Okay pa mo diha? Are you still in the same boat? Alright, gamay na lang June, we still have 30 slides more. So, gamay pag-antos na lang. So, here we will talk about the major air pollutants. So, nearly 200 air pollutants are recognized and assessed by the by the EPA and listed in the Clean Air Act. They can be classified as primary or secondary. Now, let's talk about primary pollutants. Our primary pollutants are emitted directly into the air. They include particulate, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, and hydrocarbons. Now, the secondary pollutants are produced by reaction between primary pollutants and normal atmospheric compounds. For example, ozone forms over urban areas through reaction of primary pollutants, sunlight, and natural atmospheric gas. Now, the major air pollutants occur either as the particulate matter, what we call the PM, or in gaseous forms. Particulates are very small particles of solid or liquid substance and may be organic or inorganic. Gaseous pollutants include sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide, ozone, and volatile organic compounds. In addition to pollutants from human sources, our atmosphere contains many pollutants of origin such as sulfur dioxide from volcanic eruptions, hydrogen sulfide from geysers and hot springs, as well as from biological decay in bogs and marshes, ozone in the lower atmosphere as a result of unstable meteorological condition such as violent thunderstorm. Now let's go to the criteria pollutants. So the 6 most common pollutants are criteria pollutants because the EPA has set specific limits on the level of these 6, and they are responsible for most of our air pollution problems. So the 6 are sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, carbon dioxide, the carbon monoxide, ozone particulates, and lead. Now, let's talk about sulfur dioxide. Are you familiar with this? Alright. Now, sulfur dioxide is a colorless and odorless gas, normally present at Earth's surface in low concentration. A significant features of sulfur dioxide is that once emitted into the atmosphere, it can be converted into fine particulate sulfate. It can be converted into fine particulate sulfate and removed from the atmosphere by wet or dry deposition. And it is also important precursor to acid rain. And we have the second criteria pollutants, which is the nitrogen oxides. Nitrogen oxides occur in many forms in the atmosphere. They are emitted largely as nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide, and only these two forms are subject to emission regulation. The more important of the two is yellow-brown to reddish-brown gas. So that would be nitrogen oxide. Now let's go to the carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas that even at very low concentration is extremely toxic to humans and other animals. The high toxicity results from a psychological effect. Carbon monoxide is particularly hazardous to people with heart disease, anemia, or respiratory disease. It may also cause birth defects, including mental retardation and impaired fetal growth. Its effects tend to be worse at higher altitudes where oxygen levels are lower. Detectors, similar to smoke detectors, are commonly used to warn people if carbon dioxide is a building reaches a dangerous level. Now let's go to ozone and other photochemical oxidants. Photochemical oxidants are secondary pollutants arising from atmospheric interaction of nitrogen dioxide and sunlight. Ozone, of primary concern here, is a form of oxygen in which 3 atoms of oxygen occur together rather than normal 2. The number of other photochemical oxidants known as PANs, or what we call the peroxycyclic nitrate, alright, so occur with photochemical smog. So that would be ozone and other photochemical oxidants. Now let's go to particulate matter and ultraparticles. Particulate matter is made up of any particles. The term particulate matter is used for varying mixture of particles suspended in the air we breathe, but in regulation, these are divided into 3 categories. PM10 particulates up to 10 micrometer in diameter. Now, PM2 particulates between 2.5 and 0.8 microns, and UP, or ultraparticles. Ultrafine particles smaller than 0.18 micrometers in diameter released into the air by vehicles on street and freeways. Now let's go to the last criteria pollutants. Lead. Lead, a heavy metal, is an important constituent of automobile batteries and other industrial products. Leaded gasoline, or still used in some countries, helps protect engines and promotes more effective fuel consumption. So those are the 6 criteria pollutants. Now, let's go to acid rain. So, naka-experience ba tang og acid rain here in the Philippines? Definitely wala. Kaya kung naa, it can be extremely harmful to the forest and human. And if na pa, nangasunog na tang tanan. Alright! Now, what is acid rain? Now, acid rain is precipitation in which the pH, or what we call the power hydrogen. Kanto mo kabaluan ng pH, no? So, P is the short for German word for power, and H is the element symbol of hydrogen. That is what we call the power hydrogen, or the pH, is below 5.6. The pH, a measure of acidity and alkalinity, is the negative logarithm of concentration of hydrogen ion. Now, acid rain includes both wet, or rain, or snow, or fog, and dry particulate acidic deposition. So, the deposition occur near and downwind of areas where the burning of fossil fuels produce major emission of sulfur dioxide. Now, what causes of acid rain? Now, as we said, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide are the major contribution to acid rain. Sulfur dioxide is emitted primarily by stationary sources such as power plants that burn fossil fuel. Now, let's go to sensitivity to acid rain. Geology, climate, vegetation, and soil help determine the effect of acid rain because these differ widely in their buffers, chemicals that can neutralize acid. Sensitive areas are those in which the type of bedrock, such as granite, or soils, such as those consisting largely of sand, cannot buffer acid input. Now let's go to the acid rain's effect on forest ecosystem. It has long been suspected that acid precipitation damages trees. Symptoms include slowed tree growth, leaves and needles that turn brown and fall off, and in extreme cases, the death of trees. The acid rain does not directly kill trees. Rather, it weakens them as essential nutrients are leached from soil or stripped from leaves by acid fog. Acidic rainfall also may release toxic chemicals such as aluminum that damage trees. Acid rain effects on lake ecosystem. The increased acidity has been traced to acid rain caused by industrial processes in other countries, particularly in Germany and Great Britain. Thousands of lakes, ponds, and streams in eastern United States. So dito lang no ang naay mga acid rain sa mga lugar nga mga Britain, mga United States. So kalabanan dito ano ang mga acid rain. No, acid rain effects on human society. Acid rain damage not only our forests and lakes, but also many buildings materials, including steel, galvanized steel, paint, plastics, cement, masonry, and several types of rock, especially limestone, sandstone, and marble. So this is a picture of acid rain pathway. Now let's talk about air toxic na po. Alright, toxic air pollutants or air toxics are among those pollutants known or suspected to cause cancer and other serious health problems after either law. Air toxics include gases, metals, and organic chemicals that are emitted in relatively small volumes. There are several examples of air toxic, which is hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen fluoride, mercury, volatile organic compounds, and benzene and acrolein. Hydrogen sulfide is a highly toxic corrosive gas, easily identified by its rotten egg odor. Hydrogen fluoride is a gas released by some industrial activities such as aluminum production, coal gasification, and burning of coal in power plants. Mercury is a heavy metal released into the atmosphere by coal burning power plants, other industrial processes, and mining. Volatile organic compounds, benzene, and acrolein. Now let's go to urban air pollution, chemical and atmospheric processes. So there are two major types of urban smog. Photochemical smog, sometimes called LA, is a type of smog, brown air. And sulfurous smog, sometimes referred to as London, type of smog, gray air or industrial smog. Now let's talk about sulfurous smog. Sulfurous smog is produced primarily by burning of coal or oil at a large power plants. Sulfur oxide and particulates combine under certain conditions to produce concentrated sulfurous smog. And photochemical smog is directly related to automobile use. Now, the most reasonable ways to control the most common air pollutants in our city includes reducing emission, capturing them before they reach the atmosphere, and removing them from the atmosphere. Let's talk about the particulates. It emitted from fugitive point or even area stationary source are much easier to control than very small particulates. Automobiles. Controlling such pollutants as carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, and hydrocarbons in urban areas is best achieved by pollution control measure for automobiles. Sulfur dioxide. Emissions have been reduced by obtainment measure before during after combustion. Now, the cost of controlling outdoor air pollution. The cost of outdoor air pollution controls varies widely from one industry to another. For example, the cost of incremental control in a fossil fuel burning utility is a few $100s per additional ton of particulates removed. Economic analysis of air pollution is not simple. There are many variables, some of which are hard to quantify. We do know the following. With increasing air pollution controls, the capital cost for technology to control air pollution increases. As the control for air pollution increases, the load from pollution damages decreases. So the total cost of air pollution is the cost of pollution control plus the environmental damages of air pollution. Now, what is indoor air pollution? So indoor air pollution from fires for cooking and heating the effective human health for thousands of years. A detailed autopsy of a 4th century Native American woman frozen shortly after death revealed that she suffered from black lung disease from breathing very polluted air over many years. The pollutants include hazardous particles from lamps that burn, seal, whale blubber. So what are the sources of indoor air pollution? Possible sources of air pollution are construction materials, furnishing, types of equipment used for heating and cooling, as well as natural processes that allow gases to seep into buildings. Indoor concentration of air pollutants are generally greater than outdoor concentration of the same pollutants. So, next would be sources of indoor air pollution. Hapit na dyan ta guys, hapit na mga 5 na lang dyan ka slides. Now, ventilation is commonly used to control indoor air pollution, but tighter construction impedes ventilation, and many popular ventilation systems do not reduce certain types of indoor air pollutant. Now, indoor air. So the ventilation is very important, and if you don't have enough ventilation, pollutants can accumulate, and it can be harmful for your health. Now, controlling indoor air pollution involves several strategies including ventilation, source removal, source modification, air cleaning equipment, education. Example, so it is important to follow a few simple rules, just like no smoking. O, di ba, makatabang siya para it reduces air pollution. Now, let's go to, hapit na dito guys, 10 best ways to reduce air pollution. So, saan man yung mga best ways to reduce air pollution? So we have here the 10 best ways to reduce air pollution. So we have using public transport, turn off the lights when not in use, recycle and reuse, no to plastic bags, use of fans instead of air conditioner, reduction of forest fires and smoking, use filter for chimneys, avoid usage of crackers, avoid using the products with chemicals, and implement afforestation. Alright, so here are the links of my photo sources. So these are the links that I use, like GIF photos and other photos that I use. And now we have here, so this is the end of my report. As you can see in the picture, we need to save the earth. We need to save our Mother Earth by following the 10 best ways on how to reduce air pollution. Alright, stopping pollution is the best solution. So thank you for watching and listening. And that would be all. Don't forget and just remember that love is in the air. Alright, don't forget to wear your face mask and keep safe, everybody. Thank you. If you have questions, you can ask by the end of our reports. Thank you, classmates. Thank you, sir.